Joining me now, Congressman Joe Neguse of Colorado, the newly elected Assistant House Democratic Leader. Leader Neguse, welcome back to the Saturday Show.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Jonathan. Good to be with you.
So President Biden released a statement on the spending deal today saying, quote, Congress's work isn't done, and calling for a border security supplemental. What more needs to be done, and can it get done given the state of the Republican majority?
Well, first and foremost, I certainly agree with the president. There's more work to be done. But I think contextually, something that is important to remember, and of course, you stated this at the outset, is how we got here. It's quite remarkable that 6 times in the last 6 months you have had these government showdowns that have been averted only because of the masterful leadership of Leader Jeffries in the House, President Biden, and congressional Democrats, ultimately saving the day, putting people over politics and working to keep the government up and running. The fact that we have ultimately been responsible for getting these bills across the finish line, notwithstanding that the Republicans ostensibly have a majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, of course, a dwindling one, as you said, I think is certainly worth repeating. Now, with regard to the particular question you posed, there is a bipartisan bill, as you know, that passed out of the Senate to address our national security needs. It passed with 70 votes out of the United States Senate on a bipartisan basis. And we all know that if that bill were put on the floor for an up or down vote, it would pass by an overwhelming margin. It's a binary choice, in my view, that's faced by Speaker Johnson as to whether or not he capitulates to the far right, Marjorie Taylor Greene and many others, or whether he ultimately puts that bill on the floor. He has yet to do the latter. I hope that he will when we return from the district work period that commenced yesterday.
I'm sorry, Congressman. I was working on something while you were answering a little bit that question. The bill that you said passed with 70 votes, was that the border security bill, or was that the Ukraine funding bill?
Oh, it's a good question. No, it's the latter. The border funding bill, as you know, that bill ultimately never reached the floor of the United States Senate.
That's right.
Republicans abandoned their own proposals that they had negotiated. They clearly wanted to make this a campaign issue and don't have any interest in actually solving the problem.
Right.
So ultimately, that bill didn't end up getting a vote.
Right. OK, so before he left Congress on Friday, Congressman Ken Buck, a fellow Coloradan, became the first Republican to sign the discharge petition for aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Is that the only way that kind of funding bill will get passed by the House?
Well, I had a number of conversations with my colleague, with Representative Buck, who is a friend, is a congressional neighbor of mine. Our districts are adjacent to each other. We disagree on a whole lot, but I have found him to be a good faith partner on a number of issues. And so I wish him well in his next chapter. I was grateful that he ultimately made the decision to sign the discharge petition because of his belief that we need to not abandon our allies in Ukraine. Again, however, I would say, as so many others have said on both sides of the aisle, including Mitch McConnell in the United States Senate, the path forward, in my view, is the Speaker putting the bill on the floor for a vote. And while I'm hopeful that other Republicans will follow the lead of former Congressman Ken Buck in signing that discharge petition, it shouldn't take a discharge petition to ultimately get an up or down vote on supporting our allies and our own national security interests.
Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate against Speaker Johnson. It couldn't have come at a worse time for the Republican majority. With Buck's departure and Congressman Mike Gallagher's departure next month, that majority slips to 1 seat, which means all eyes are turning to y'all, to Democrats. And whether you'll save Johnson, I've done my own informal survey. More than a few said no. But listen to what Congressman Tom Suozzi had to say.
The bottom line is the American people want us to do our jobs. They're sick of these games. They're sick of the extremists. And, I don't support Speaker Johnson on a whole host of different things. But the idea of shutting down the government again and spending all of our time on a speaker's fight is absurd. So I'll support to keep him as the speaker.
So, Leader Neguse, what would you want in exchange for your vote to keep Johnson as speaker?
Well, first, I would just simply say I don't know that the motion that Representative Greene introduced is actually legislatively ripe per se, and that's yet to be determined. And I don't know that it was introduced as a privilege resolution. So we'll see as to whether or not the motion to vacate ultimately comes before the House as a live question. I think it's premature for me to opine as to what we might do and what House Democrats might do in that scenario. Ultimately, that'll be a decision made by our leader, Leader Jeffries, who, as I said, has done a masterful and remarkable job negotiating a series of legislative packages in just the last several weeks, by way of example, that keep the government open and running. So, of course, we'll have a number of conversations, I imagine, with the colleagues in the House Democratic Caucus about a way forward. I would just say more broadly, as I said previously, Speaker Johnson has some decisions to make with respect to bipartisan pieces of legislation that he could put on the floor just as soon as we return. And I suspect that the decision to do so would certainly have an impact, I imagine, on the impressions of many folks on my side of the aisle and folks across the country. So at the end of the day, that's a question that I think is best posed to Speaker Johnson and to his colleagues in the Republican conference. I might also add, Jonathan, I'm not surprised that House Republicans are jumping ship. I mean, when chaos and dysfunction are essentially your central currency as a governing majority, it shouldn't be all too surprising that Republican members would decide that they don't want to stay any longer.
Yeah, and it's incredible. It's one thing to say, you know what, I'm not going to run for re-election. It's another to say, you know what, I'm out. See ya. I'm leaving. I'm leaving right now. Assistant Democratic Leader, Congressman Joe Neguse, as always, thank you very much for coming to the Saturday Show.